Okay, so the Arsenal game on Sunday. I realise I haven't really said anything or spoke about it at all, but that's just because I actually can't remember what happened in the game. Like, as soon as those first two goals went in, it just, my mind switched off. I don't know, I've been on to the club for like over a year now, so it's very easy just to kind of switch away and just kind of not take anything in. Obviously, Eze with 3 goals, that was bound to happen, of course. I know the Frank quote the day before, Eze who, but that's been taken slightly out of context. It's worse right down in quotes than when you actually hear what he said about it. But yeah, not a great look just for the club really in general, especially as he was kind of a big player which you were going to sign. And then your rivals, Arsenal, just picked you to it. And we did everything that we shouldn't have done. We just played right into Arsenal's hands. We sat back, 5 at the back. That is a formation that people have been asking for because it was successful against PSG. But it just didn't work, when you do have that extra defender and it's not working to your advantage, you're going to have to just ditch it because it's not working. And, Frank did do that at half time, fair play, but, you could say that is too late. And then it doesn't help when you when you concede 60 seconds later and you're 3-0 down. With the lineup, we literally set out our most defensive team that we could. And if that was our most defensive team, the basically 7 defensive players on the pitch, and we still conceded 4 goals, that's a massive issue. Like, I know that Frank has come in, he shored up the defence, but has he really shored up the defence? Because, we're shipping 4 goals here, we're shipping goals against Chelsea, but obviously those two clubs do just have better quality than what we do, even though we would say that the defence is our best, or is the best part of our squad. Adogi was looking okay on the left, but he was being played out of the game because of Timber and, he had another player doubling up on him. And without that left winger, in Odebert, who was more of a central player, those two working together to overlap and then having that attacking midfielder centrally, it was hard to play around them or through them. There's a reason why we hardly got the ball into the Arsenal half and hardly got out our own. And Jed Spence at right wing back, he's not a right wing back, he's a good defensive player. If you want to play these big games and sit back and be defensive, he's fine, but he's not going to offer anything going forward. Porro missing that game was my biggest kind of like oof from looking at the lineup, because Porro, he's a big game player for us, and that would have been an important player to have on the pitch, especially if our tactic was to kind of sit back and then have our attackers just kind of stand up the pitch and we're just lumping balls to him, because Porro can lump a ball forward at least. Bentancur, Paulinho in midfield, they're meant to be the big physical kind of security guards, but they just didn't do that at all. The amount of times they left an Arsenal player free on the edge of our box, what happened to Eze 3 times, that's how we got his 3 goals, were all just copies of each other. It was embarrassing. You might as well have not been on the pitch because you're not doing the job that you're there for. Kudus at right wing, you could tell that he's a player that's working on his fitness, he's back from injury, because he was fairly anonymous, nothing was really sticking for him and he weren't progressing the ball at all, like we know that he can do. And it meant that Richarlison was probably one of our better players today. He does have that fight when it comes to games like this. And, he scored a beautiful goal as well, but it's just a shame that goal came when we were already losing 3-0, and, it's just going to be another great goal like Lamella's Rabona, which just gets lost in history because, there's no relevance to it. Xavi came on at half-time, he changed the game, he was probably our best attacking player in the end, but, it's a little too late. We just need to kind of have that one lineup which is starting, which you can just trust it to both defend and attack. Because that's the way that these players are going to learn how to play with each other, by sticking with the same lineup. They can all learn how each other plays, and, you'll reap the rewards from it. There's obvious changes that you would make for our next game, but obviously that's against PSG. Do we go back to the back four? Do we play the back five again? I don't know. PSG games kind of we just need to get through it, and then Fulham is a real test, and then we've got Brentford as well. So that's when Frank, he has to be judged really, because Fulham at home should be a game that we win. They've not been great this season, and Brentford got to be better than what Frank's old team was. That's the reason why he joined Tottenham, because they're better than Brentford. So yeah, it's worrying, but you've also just got to have patience. I've got patience because I don't care as much, and I cannot be bothered to go through another managerial change. But I'm also just sensible knowing that I know that things need time, you know, especially when you're trying to create a brand of football and play the way that you want. You know, you've got to get all the foundations perfect, and then you'll see the results. So we just got to hope that we kind of see more glimpses soon of Frank's style. Otherwise, it's just kind of like a, what am I looking at here?